Hi, everyone. I would like to talk about the concept of self-governance. Governance, yeah. How are you governing yourself, and what that means? Because we see in our society, we look at the idea of a tyrant, and we see the idea of a hero. We have reflections or images of what man is at different potencies and potentials. In other words, in some range, it is a hero. Man is a hero. Man is loved by all men. In other ranges, man is hated by all men, depending on the actions that man does. So we have this fear of selfishness. We have this fear that we are actually very selfish and we don't understand anything. So we continue to be more selfish. We continue to promote our worlds to others. But you see that you must conquer the fear of thinking that if you govern yourself, you see, we might look up and we might see leaders. We see other men leading other men, and at times to victory. However, you need to understand you are the most immediate leader of your life. You're the leader of your one-man army, of your one-man group. What that means is you must first lead yourself naturally based on the trust that you have and the knowing you know. You must lead yourself by understanding you're your most immediate leader. Your thoughts affect you. Now, you need to understand that there's a problem because when leaders are victorious and then they have to maintain other structures, it's as if the leader's purpose was to create that moment where those who he led reach their optimum potential. After they reach that, the leader is made for bringing about other senses of leadership. For example, we see Che Guevara's life, at least my ideas on Che Guevara's life being that way, where one sense of leadership, or that sense of rebellious leadership that Che Guevara had, is not only expressed in one area of his life. It's expressed in many areas. In other words, you're rebellious in your creativity. You're rebellious in many things. You don't accept any structure. You accept the truth in how you perceive structure. And you follow what is your knowing. In other words, if you know it is your right to be free and I come and I step into your privacy, then that is, you have a right to speak up. You have a right to present your reality to me in a way where I am not judging you, where in a way where I am not an arrogant judge. Because when we have arrogant judges, insensitive people to the life process, we have big prisons. We have needs for prison. Therefore, you must understand that you are not to become a dictator of your life who feels he has full control, even controls in the thoughts that people have around him. You must not let your insecurities dictate your life. Because you see, the dictator that you observe, let's say you got everything you wanted and you were in a position to be a dictator like some people who are in this life. You realize it is not about you. Because the greater things in life become the connections to your individuality. They do not become greater separations. You see, it's suggested by how aware you are within the moment of existence that suggests the self-awareness you have, and at the same time, the ideas you have on what life is. The ideas in which you're judging life and deciding by. In other words, you go ask Gandhi how he decided to stand up and go and walk and have all these people follow him and for him to pick up the salt. And you see, he let it come to him. He let the answer be heard because the collective always knows what it's lacking. And it's not anything. It's the allowance to occur. In other words, all the great changes that, for example, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Terence McKenna, and any other great leader has brought is one of the self-recognition of humanity. In other words, we realize that we're human beings. In other words, I don't know much about this, but I will just suggest the ideas I have. that Martin Luther King saw inequality. He saw that one human form was being behaved differently compared to another human form, and there were conditions. So he worked through these conditions, and he brought us a self-recognition that was for the human being. The lessons that Gandhi and even the prophets of old and these ancient men have taught, in a sense. You know, even role models and people from before. You see that the roles they played were made on a different awareness. In other words, the awareness Martin Luther King had was a very existentially compassionate one. He saw that no human would be judged. He understood the hardship that was creating the disharmony, and he stood up to recreate harmony by speaking up. In other words, you need to understand that this harmonious conditions you're in, one reason you're in them is to speak the harmony that is the greater observance you have. In other words, if you see a problem, speak up and provide an answer that you are seeing. Because inefficiency and the waste of life comes from thinking you have something to lose. Thinking you have already lost. That's when you feel like a loser, when you feel you can't do anything. And let me tell you, you're still alive. It's the moment you can do anything you want. That is the potential. Because you need to understand, for example, you are doing something which is something you don't want, but you're doing it. In other words, you have an ability to create. If you could create anything, what kind of a life would you create for yourself? You need to answer this comfortably and with the peak amount of self-awareness and self-reflection. You need to look at your past and even where you feel you're heading and observe. Now, we see that self-governance suggests that at first you need to manage different areas of yourself. What does that mean? You need to be aware of the structures that are left before, similar to how political systems work. One political structure is challenging another to find equilibrium, but both structures are meaningless because the system is based on a meaningless structure. In other words, the house is made without walls, so it's not a house. So it doesn't really bring governance. It brings influence over the intention of man and its most agreed decision. In other words, you need to speak the vision you have to then be able to bring change. In other words, an artist needs to draw what is within his knowing to show people a new canvas. You need to have an awareness of life that can be seen through all fields. In other words, you need to have a trust of your own understanding before the form is there. In other words, similar to that deja vu moment you've had, which you've wondered about. You see, it's an understanding that suggests that the dictatorship is only created based on the mental inability to see the harmony that is present. You need to see the harmonies of life that is present. The planets give out music. You need to hear those sounds. And when you hear those sounds, you realize the purpose for a lot of your actions fade. And you are simply present in your own greater existential understanding that transcends a format. It is more an observance of the format. It is being observant of the code rather than what the code has shaped. And with this, there is at first a sense of alienation, but a sense of vision as well. In other words, when you want greater vision here, you have to walk away from the crowd. You got to walk a different direction. So you choose that direction you want to walk. And so, to govern yourself, you need to understand the best governance is nature's will. You see that nature is flowing in a way. So, in whatever environment you are, I want you for a second to close your eyes, breathe consciously, and it doesn't mean just breathe deeply. Be aware that you're breathing. It doesn't matter how you're breathing. And breathe a couple times and let it adjust to a certain flow. In other words, reach a very calm sense of breathing first. Open your eyes and look at your environment and be okay with everything, regardless. for, of any change. Right now when I'm saying this, I saw a guy wear a shirt, for goodness sake. For the sake of goodness, simply be observant of the good that is here and don't think about it, just observe. In other words, just look. I'm not telling you to do anything, I'm just asking you to observe. Look at the different colors, look at the different things, and now observe your heartbeat and observe your presence. Just literally see, and when I say see, don't think about it, just perceive. Perceive your presence. Perceive how you're present here. And look at all the phenomena which you consider to be separate and know that they're all connected by your vision. And you are a connected vision. So breathe and understand that your heartbeat is working with the intelligence of nature. You're not thinking about your heartbeat, but your heart's beating. So have this comfort and trust that you are in the moment you need to be. This is exactly where you need to be. You're not late, you're not early. You're in the right moment you need to be. And naturally let yourself be expressed. Let there be a very natural sense where it's as if it's an ecstatic dance, every single movement. Every single move you do, you're dancing to the sound of life. It's a sense of governance which is allowing your intuition to open based on a playful personality. And once you allow it, you begin to see things that are only helpful to you, unless it is communicated by the thing that you're seeing that it's also helpful for others. In other words, my insight, personal insight, is on different is at a different reality than the one I can communicate. So we understand our position based on our feet and the shoes that we wear. And the shoes that you wear suggest your condition. And so sometimes people like to take off the shoes and walk into the water and feel greater flows of their own presence. And you can too. Let self-governance happen. Allow it. Allow the same harmony and rhythm that is keeping your heart to beat to be present within your everyday action. Be honest and keep a sense of transparency when judging a sense of self. And feel the wind. Thank you. Feel the wind of existence.